What is up, you guys? Shoop Sports here, back with a maybe too early fantasy video, but if you're like me, fantasy's all year round, especially if you're drafting for dynasty leagues. Well, here today, we have some numbers on our 2022 ADP rankings, and I want to go over 5 running backs that are great values for their ADP and at this point are must-owns. So starting from the very top, there's Christian McCaffrey, the 7th running back coming up the board right now at average pick 1.09. It doesn't get any lower for Christian McCaffrey than this. Listen, he's had the injury concerns. His last 2 years, he's barely played. But in the games he's played, he's been highly effective, like we're used to having Christian McCaffrey. We're never going to get McCaffrey at this low of a value again. Now, it'd be a different story if McCaffrey is coming off like a torn ACL or a serious injury, like an Achilles injury. But McCaffrey was just dealing with hamstring injuries and a variety of injuries, but nothing so debilitating that it should affect him this coming season. And if you look at the Panthers quarterback situation at this very moment, even if they bring a rookie in, they're going to have to rely on McCaffrey pretty heavily. And there's no reason to think that McCaffrey won't want to have a big year. You know, he's been injured. He wants to prove himself that he can stay healthy. And if you look at some of the guys that are being taken above him, like Austin Eckler and Nick Chubb, great talents, but they don't command the same share of the backfield that McCaffrey will be taking on this season. So if you're sitting there in the middle round picks like 5, 6, 7, or even at the back end of the round where people are afraid to take a chance on a guy like McCaffrey, you should absolutely do it. This is the perfect time to buy low on McCaffrey. Going next, so the number 19 overall guy picked in the middle of the second round is DeAndre Swift at 2.07. Swift had sort of a breakout year, if you want to call it that. He had a lot of really good games on a really poor team, and then unfortunately his shoulder got hurt towards Thanksgiving. Detroit was already out of contention. We didn't get to see a lot of Swift much after that. But in terms of like backfield share, there's no reason to think that he won't have the majority share, especially how much Dan Campbell has played him and how much he's talked up about him. But I also just love the direction that this Lions team is going in. I think they have a pretty decent offensive line, and it seems like there's a big kind of culture change going on within the Detroit organization. Now, of course, Detroit has a big history of just not performing well as a team, but we don't care about that from a fantasy perspective. We care about opportunity, and I think there'll be a lot more opportunity for Swift, especially in PPR formats. I still think he's going to get a lot of dump-offs with their lack of current receiving talent. I love Swift in the middle of the second round. I definitely take him over guys like past commodities such as Kamara and Antonio Gibson, guys that you're not entirely sure, like with the talent around them, that they'll have the kind of seasons they had in the past. I think Swift has more of that blow-up potential that we could have seen last year before he injured his shoulder late in the year. So this next guy is another guy like McCaffrey who spent a lot of the time injured last year. But the difference with this guy, and this guy I'm talking about, is Saquon Barkley, who is currently going at the average of number 42 overall in these drafts. So low for a talent like his. He's going all the way down at number 42, and the concerns are the same as with McCaffrey. Injury prone, but more so the Giants offense was an abomination last year. They had no O-line, so they couldn't run even if they wanted to. But the big thing with Saquon is he's now a second year removed from that torn ACL. When you're coming off your first year after a torn ACL, most guys aren't going to be right up to speed right away unless you're MVP level Adrian Peterson, which rarely happens. But you got Saquon all the way down the 4th round, whose talent level commands a full workload, and the Giants, their receivers basically played like bums all last year. And this is a make or break year for both Saquon and his quarterback Daniel Jones. They're going to have to step up their play, and I think they're going to rely on each other a lot. And Saquon, he still has that explosive ability. You know, he had a freak ankle injury last year that kind of derailed his hopes for the season. Like McCaffrey, this is the lowest you're probably going to get Saquon until he just completely falls out of his prime. I love Saquon in the 4th round. You look at guys that are around his ADP at the running back position, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Damian Harris, who both are probably going to be in workload splits in their respective backfields. You look at Saquon, who's got everything on the line for him at this point. It's pretty much make or break for him. If you're getting him in the 4th round as your RB2, that's amazing value. It really doesn't get much better than that. Okay, so sliding down, further down the draft board to get some more value, guys, we're going to go down to the 6th round, and we get Michael Carter. Now, Michael Carter hasn't fully taken over the backfield yet. He's still kind of competing with Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson definitely played well at times last year. He will earn a little bit of the playing time, but I think eventually the real talent, Michael Carter, the guy that the Jets spent the high draft pick on, he's going to shine. And what's more important in this case is the development of Zach Wilson. I think the Jets are going to be one of those teams that are awful in real life, but very fun for fantasy. As in, very bad defense, but I think their offense will get cooking a little bit more this year. And Michael Carter is going to be a big beneficiary of that. He's going to rack up the catches again like he did last year. And he should be in line for more touchdowns if Zach Wilson's development continues to trend upward. They're going to be playing against the Bills and Dolphins, 2 teams that also should be scoring a lot of points this year. So I like the Jets offense in general from a fantasy standpoint. So guys like Elijah Moore as well. But for running backs, for a guy that could take over the backfield this year, Michael Carter, to get him in the 6th round, I really like that value there. And the final guy that I'm going to go to is a guy that I couldn't believe was being drafted this low, and it's Tony Pollard. He is being drafted at the back end of the 7th round. And I'm wondering if anyone watched the Cowboys last year, because Zeke looked sluggish. Sure, he was in line for plenty of touchdowns, but he was more of a byproduct of the Cowboys offense, where Tony Pollard was the one making more of the explosive plays. And as you saw, as the year kind of progressed, he got more and more involved in the offense. Zeke could very well be done at this point in his career. It's going to be his 6th or 7th year in the league, and he already got his big money contract. I think this could be the year where Zeke fades a little bit out of the picture. But let's say he doesn't, and Zeke still remains a factor. Well, the Cowboys play in one of the weakest divisions in football. They should have a lot of leads, and also consider the fact that they're playing not only in the weakest division in football, but they're also playing NFC, which is the weaker conference. They're going to have a lot more winnable games on their plate, which means more opportunities for the running backs in general. And Pollard, they have full faith in him. They should continue to feed him the rock, and the Cowboys offense still should be very good. So there should be plenty of opportunities for Pollard to get significant touches. And, well, what happens if Zeke gets hurt? Pollard is an instant RB1. I love getting handcuffs like that, but in a situation where Pollard could very realistically take over as a starter, I think you have to draft him. I think he's a must draft here. Anyway, never too early for a fantasy video. I'm going to continue to look at the ADP, see where we can get value, and this is Shoop Sports signing out.